Kevin Holland took a big groin strike in his fight over the weekend with Mike Mallott. Never fully recovered despite having 5 minutes to recover. He's still hurting from that. My nut's still throbbing. Never thought I'd ask my mom to take me to get an ultrasound. He also wasn't a fan of the refereeing job done. Headbutt loss, ref Dan. Overturn Herb, multiple nut shots, no foul, ref Dan. Damn, Dan. 1 point deduction, or at least an extra 45 to 70 seconds of rest. Referee Big Dan made a bad call earlier in the night with Frivola and Kyle Nelson. And during the fight with Holland and Mallott, he made a weird statement later in the fight when Holland was complaining about his groin, saying if he stopped, he'd lose by DQ. Bilal Muhammad won at Usman, but he gets Ian Gary. It's kind of a matchup of range striking versus relentless pressure. Gary would aim to keep Bilal at distance using reach, jab, and front kicks, avoiding grappling exchanges. His movement and precision could give him an early edge. Bilal's looking to close the distance, cut off the footwork, force clinch and wrestling exchanges. His constant pressure and cardio could make Gary uncomfortable if he's trapped against the cage, but he did a pretty good job against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Since it's only a 3-round fight, that dynamic may favor Gary slightly. He can stay fresh and stick to a disciplined striking game plan without worrying much about long-term fatigue. Bilal, meanwhile, he's got to start fast, immediately turn it into a grind and prevent Gary from coasting behind his jab and movement.
Ian, he's the hype, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to fight nobody that's not right next in line for the title fight. He waited as the backup for that fight. So this is the fight that we win this. We go out here.
He's been calling for it.
Yeah, we go out here. We finish this guy. There's no one else. None of these guys else are fighting, right? Kamaru Usman's injured. He's not fighting. He's staying on the sidelines. He's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, and he's trying to talk a big game.
And I think there's more about the Usman. That's originally who you wanted.
Yeah, of course. That was the fight that made the most sense, right? We had our podcast where I slapped him, and you'd want to get your get back.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't, he knows that the slap hurt him, and he knows that it's just a bad matchup for him. So for my mentality as a man, for somebody to slap you and you to say no.
On your own podcast.
Yeah, on your own podcast, and for you not to post it or talk about it, it just shows me what type of person you are. He's a coward. So I moved on.
Tom Aspinall thinks he handles pressure better than Cyril Gahn.
Are you feeling pressure on this one? Mate, of course. Like, if you're getting a fist fight in front of millions of people with somebody else, you should be feeling pressure. You should be feeling pressure. The difference is, I think that I do really, really well against pressure. I think that Cyril is an extremely talented fighter. I think that sometimes the pressure gets a little bit too much for him. It gets too much for everybody at some stage. But I think that I'm one of the people who shine under pressure. Like, somebody told me recently that the elite fighters, it means everything to them, but they do it like it means nothing. And I think that that's the approach that I have really well, is like, this fight means absolutely everything, but I've got to go in there like I don't care about it and put on a great performance. And this is Cyril's 3rd title shot. And although there's a lot of pressure on me, I think there's also a lot of pressure on him, because if he doesn't win this one, he's probably not going to get a 4th. Do you know what I mean? So there's pressure on both of us, mate. There's a lot of pressure on me, there's a lot of pressure on him, and I think it's an exciting fight.
Pressure changes everything, pressure. Some people, you squeeze them, they focus. Others fold. Can you summon your talent at will? Can you deliver on a deadline? Can you sleep at night?
With Brendan Allen beating RDR, some people think he should fight DDP. They have some animosity towards each other. If that's what would happen, Fluffy Hernandez could take on Sean Strickland. Strickland has been asking for that fight. Dyer versus Hunt, BKFC, November 15th in Palm Desert, California. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis, 4 weeks out. Also on the card, Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. That's in Miami, Florida. Those Apex headliners are pretty weak. Garcia versus Onama and Bonfim versus Brown. That's why the Netflix deal didn't happen, because the UFC wanted to include all these fight night type of cards, and Netflix didn't want to do that. Shavkat Rakhmonov targeting a return in January or February, according to his manager, who says Shavkat already back to full training, most likely will be fighting Sheikh by late January, early February. Right now, he's training twice a day, preparing for the goal of competing early next year. At this point, waiting for a title shot is not realistic. He'll need to come back, remind everyone who he is, make a statement again, and re-earn the shot at the belt. We'll see how things play out after the November fights and how the division shapes up from there. Yeah, by January, February, who knows who's going to be champion and who knows who's going to be at the top of the division then. Parker versus Wardley happening this Saturday at the O2 in London. Paulie Malignaggi wins a split decision over Tyler Goodjohn in bare knuckle boxing.
Bare knuckle. I think everybody who's making money in this business, there's certain people that they got to be thankful for, and one of them is Tyler Goodjohn. It was a good fight. I thought it was a good skill fight. We're both coming from boxing. Spent the entire night in the hospital. I haven't slept yet. So besides that, and then being sore and banged up from the fight, I feel like an old man. But I'm happy that I got the win, and it was a great experience to be able to do it in the Trigon against a fighter that I consider a very big pioneer legend in this game of bare knuckle. I think everybody who's making money in this business, there's certain people that they got to be thankful for, and one of them is Tyler Goodjohn. It was a good fight. I thought it was a good skill fight. We both come from boxing, so I thought we both showed good skills. We were a little bit different stylistically, boxing-wise. Tyler I felt he was throwing a little harder, but he was throwing, he wasn't throwing wild. He was throwing boxing punches. When I was throwing the punches, I wasn't throwing them as hard. I was also maybe throwing some bait punches to bait him, maybe even lighter punches at first to bait him, so he would throw a harder punch, and then I could counter that. Setting traps, changing range, while Tyler was trying to keep in tight and use that kind of tight pressure boxing, tightening his fist and throwing hard punches. So it was a good style clash, but a good style clash in terms of both guys actually knew how to fight, and I felt like it was like Gareth said in one of the interviews prior to the fight, that it was almost like poetic beauty in that way. I thought we showed skill, but also good brutality, because we were both very bloody. But I like performing. I think we both had a good time in that way. Tyler was talking a little trash in there, and then I was talking a little trash in there, but ultimately, we're also gritty and we're also competitors, and at the same time, it wasn't just games in there. It was a serious thing. It was a fight, and we were both competing to win.
Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres, December 6th. Chances are Dawson gets the takedown and smothers him on the ground. Torres is coming off a victory over Drew Dober, who won over the weekend, snapping a 3-fight losing streak.
Said in the octagon multiple times to DC, you've had a lot going on. You didn't get the chance to really elaborate. Is there anything you want to share on that front?
3 losses definitely hurts, I've never been in this period of my life. You get a lot of questions about retirement. In camp, unfortunately, lost my child, and we've been dealing with a lot of pressure, and it just forced me to think about what I care about, why do I do this, and what's been going wrong, and I started taking myself a little too seriously. I don't know if it was the knockout record or just being a family man, or I don't know, getting paid more, who knows. But I had to remind myself why I started, what kept me going, living in my car, trying to be a fighter, trying to make it into the UFC. There's a certain attitude of, I don't care what happens, I just let me enjoy this. And we had to get rid of all that expectation and taking myself too seriously. And so now in this fight, I got to just fight like it could be my last. So you just enjoy it. And I had a great dance partner in Kyle. And man, I absolutely loved every moment I was in there. It just unfortunately took me to the 3rd round to find the dog. And we're going to bring it in a little sooner next time.
Dober's fight with Kyle Prepelic, 1 fight of the night.